Welcome to app translation for my build pipeline. Hey, I'm Eric, and a while back I made a video about how I ripped all the artifacts from Microsoft and showed an example of how to do that, and why I was doing this was due to my translation tool. My translation tool has been running for a couple of years actually, but the new edition, the chrome plated, not quite yet, but we're getting there. The chrome plated version is way closer now. So I thought I would show you how I handle app translations, and maybe this can inspire you, or maybe you want to do something completely different than I'm doing. Anyway, this might get complicated, so we better get started. I have here my business central demo app. I have here my Visual Studio Code. I'm sorry, I'm all moldy, and I've been working all day restoring data from 35 years old floppy drives of stuff I did when I was a kid. Maybe I should do a video on that around, but anyway, okay, sorry, sidetrack. So when we publish an app, we have the option of publish multiple languages. And back in the CAL days, we kind of had the caption ML options and properties and so on. But now with AL, captions or translations are put into a separate file. So if I have an app here, and I was actually doing something, so let's actually change this. So this app has a label. This message can be translated. It also have a table with a field customer number, and the idea behind this app, this way of approaching translation, is kind of a lazy approach, I should say. So if we have a text like this, why would I waste time getting this translated into a different language when Microsoft has already translated this? So no matter how well I translated, it doesn't really matter, because if Microsoft has kind of already defined how customer NO should be translated. So I want to reuse translations whenever I can. In cases where I can't reuse a translation, I want to use at first a machine translated version, and then we will slowly, as we have the resources to it, translate improved translations with local partners. So we kind of need a tool to do all this, and that is where I am now. I've actually been for years, but the old version was perhaps not as elegant. So in order for us to actually, so when if I'm compiling this thing, I'm just getting an app file. So this app at this point is not translatable. In order to make an app translatable, you would go into your app.json and use the features tag, which is in JSON array. In here, you can add different features. Maybe I should actually do a video on some of the other ones, but the feature I want to activate now is called translation file. So if I now compile again, we can see I suddenly have a folder here called app translation, because that's the name of my app.g.xlf, and we can see that this is an XML file, and this XML file there's a lot of noise here, but if we actually look, ignore the noise, we can see that there is a text called customer number, and there's a text called this message can be translated. So those are both in the source tag, and they are sitting in a trans unit with a definition of where it comes from, a table, field, property, paid extension, method, name type, and a lot of metadata around this one. This also means that if we go back here in our app, and we could say dot comment equal something, this is a comment because I'm not that bright to come up with something clever. So I go back and check my translation guy. Now we actually have a note from developer that this is a comment, so whatever we put here is actually sent to the people who potentially take this file into some sort of tool. So what we want, if we want multiple languages, we want multiple XLF files tagged with, you can see in here we have there's a source language and a target language. So we want a file for each target language, and then we also need a target field in the XML. Okay, so what I have, and now I'll do this in a command prompt because let's see where we are. We are here. That's perfect. So here's our app. I can go into the translation folder, and I will now translate this app. So let's start there. Let's actually add translation. So there's an app. So I'll call translation BC Translate app. I'll pass so this is the part of what I've created. So the BC Translate app is part of what I've created. I will call this with the XLF file we have seen, and then I'll type YouTube demo here so we know what we're talking about. I run this. This says we're opening a local database, we're connecting to Azure, and then it's working here. So it says process 2. So we got 2 text translated. We pulled 32 from the cloud. We translated 33, and we had no errors. Hooray, no errors. So let's go back and look in Visual Studio. And now we can see that we have a bunch, because I configured my app to translate to a lot of languages. And since I'm Danish, then I can actually take a look at this, and we can see that this file kind of looks like the one we had. So now in this case we have source language US, target language Danish, and we can see that this is a Hogart tool that has done this. And now we have a source customer number with a target debitor number, which is the correct way from an accounting perspective. So customer number could easily be translated if you just put let's actually go here for an translate.google. Wow, let's just go to a real one, translate.google.com, and I'll type in customer number English and ask, no thank you, ask for, where is D for Danish? Oh, there you go. So, which is kundenummer. Kunde is the same as customer. So that is technically correct, but not in a Business Central perspective, because in Business Central, a customer is actually a debitor, because that's the accounting name of a customer. So in this case, what we got was actually Microsoft's translation of customer number. The other one, this message can be translated. Microsoft does not have that specific phrase anywhere in its database. So Microsoft have never translated that. So in this case, we go out to the Azure Cognitive Services and use the translation service and translate it into denne meddelelse kan oversættes, which is correct. And we even kept the note. So we have that in case of any doubt. So, and that is done for a whole bunch of languages. So the way the tool will normally be incorporated into a build pipeline is that first we compile the app to generate the translation file, then we run the translation tool, then we compile the app again with the translations. So that's the normal order in my build pipeline. Okay, so let's try something for fun, because now we saw that this one says processed to pull from Cloud 32, translated 33. So let's call it again, see what happens. So now it was way faster. So process to pull from cloud 0, translated 0, error 0. So what happened now? So here's the idea, because quite often when we do something like that, we're not really translating everything again. Typically stuff has been translated at some point. So the way the app works is, let me see, here it is. So in here, you see I have some database files, and the app is actually using this. So right now we're running in one called translation.db. So this database at this point holds only basically those two texts translated to I don't know how many languages. The one above, eFocus, currently holds all the text for used in version 2 of the SharePoint connector, which is just about to be released, and actually the first app switched over to the new translation tool. And then we see I also got one here that's almost 1 gigabyte, which, well, you can see the name is complete. This is where I have taken all translations made by Microsoft and put into a database. So if I ran the app and used CompleteDB, then wow. When I was running the first one here, it says pull from cloud 32, translated 33. Then it will never pull something from cloud because it will already be here. So, but what I have, in order not to shuffle around a gigabyte of translations that I may never use, so this database is replicated into a Azure storage table thingy. So sitting in Azure is a database with all the texts, and whenever a new text is translated, in this case we got this guy, this message can be translated. Those translations that were then created by the cognitive services are both stored in a local database, but also sent to Azure for remote storage. So if you're running this on a different build engine, build server, whatever it is, then you can still just connect to the same Azure database and get the translations, even though they might have been generated somewhere else at some point. So the idea that whatever translation service we're using, That's expensive, and both in actually costing something, but also in time spent talking with web services. So we store it, and we store it both locally as a cache, but we also store the complete thing in the cloud. Okay, let me actually switch over to, here is feature edit and continue is currently unavailable due to an internal error. Okay, so here is Visual Studio, the big one, and the one we have, the app that we have been using is, well, there's no reason to see this guy, is the actual app. So the actual app is the one doing the work. In an earlier video, we saw the artifact ripper, and just to repeat what that is doing really quick, the artifact ripper is basically looking at the data source for when you're creating Docker images. You pull down artifacts and then you build a Docker image. So in this case, this one is doing the same thing. It looks at artifacts, looks at whatever you want, versions you specify. It runs through that, and right now this is still hard-coded. That's bad, Eric, bad. Anyway, it will extract all the translation files and then store them in the local database. That goes together with a little tool that will then replicate whatever you have in your local database. So for the local database, I use something called LightDB, which is a .NET based key value database. So LightDB to Azure will take whatever you have in one of these and shoot up to Azure. Also have the option to actually import a XLF file. So let's say that you hire a translation agency. So you give them XLF files and they do translation and come back with them. Then you can use the import XLF feature to put that into your database so you have it. I was going to say the last one, but there's actually two left. But the very last one, Translation Tools, is just a shared library across the different projects. So Translate Admin is, let me run that one for you guys. So this is kind of my, my local admin tool. And the idea here is sometimes you have to, you have to edit. And maybe let's search for Debitor. Or maybe not. Let's see if this has anything. There we go. Sorry, it's actually search. Sorry, right now I think the search is in the source, not in the target. Yeah, the search is in the source. So here we can see that. And if I search for CanB, then I find the other one. So if here I can go in and say this message can be translated. Maybe and it's the source language, and I'll just say nu, meaning now in Danish, and the origin is now changed from YouTube demo, and it's just adding edited, so we know that. So that is saved, and if we search again, we can see that that is now saved in the database. If I go out and I run this guy again and go back in here, we can see that our change we just stored in the system is also being used by the tool. So the admin tool is just a way to easily work with this. The change is also replicated back up to Azure. So if I were to delete my database, actually we can try to do that. So we can see here, so process 2 pull from clouds translated to, and we had the original set translated also. But if we delete translation DB, we run again, now it says pull from cloud 64, right? Because everything is up there. And if we go back in here, we can actually see I have a bug. Huh. The admin thing didn't get replicated to, there you see, there you go. That did not get replicated to Azure for some reason. That's interesting. So that'll probably be fixed really soon. Yeah, you see that has the now has gone here. So anyway, that's the hallmark of something that is almost done. And I think I have already talked for 20 minutes. So in my build pipelines, this is now just a step, and it has been all the time, but the old version was kind of hard to maintain, and you had to manually edit stuff, and yeah, it was a very good version 1. This is now officially labeled version 3, because there were also a version 2 of version 1 at some point. And I think this is gonna help us a lot, especially as our company is growing and more people are involved, and builds happens on more than just, you know, on a single controlled server sitting somewhere. And so here's the interesting thing, that if you have translations, you might end up in, if not in when you're compiling something, if you don't get rid of the translation again, you might change a caption and then run, and then the caption is not changed because you're actually showing, because your language might be, especially if you're in one of the English territories, the English speaking language countries, then the language in your default translation file might not actually be the version of English that you're running. I have been caught by that a couple of times, where I was, you know, the source is US, but I were running on a Canadian version, and then it wouldn't show. Anyway, I think that is a lot of talk on translations. So that's my tool. If you're asking, hey, can I use this tool, then I have to say right now, I'm not sure. Let me know if you're interested in this tool. Let me know if you're actually apps on AppSource and tools like this could help you. Then we can talk. Right now, I think this is still too many moving components to be packaged and put on the shelf and with a price tag or anything like that. But it's right now, it's apart from that little bug, I'm gonna fix that the moment I'm done with this video. The tool is good enough for what we're doing, and it's so much faster than the first one. If you remember in my videos about AppSource, how long it actually took, then you know that we do appreciate that it's way faster now than it used to be. Anyway, let me know in the comments below what you think about this, and until next time, have a wonderful day, stay safe, and I will stay safe. Yeah, I said that. Stay it's one of those days my tongue is completely wrapped in itself. Anyway, you guys have fun. See you soon. Bye.